Hello, Gene Schwimmer here. Welcome to today's vlog. Yesterday, I said that I had to put off the vlog that I first recorded yesterday because I stopped to watch the President's State of the Union. I promised to broadcast or to post that vlog today. Looks like I'm going to have to break my promise and try to do it tomorrow because I mentioned in that vlog yesterday that I thought that I had seen Nancy Pelosi tear up the president's speech at the end of the speech. I then read a news report that confirmed what I thought I saw. I have now been reading several news reports, not just confirming it, but commenting on it. There seems to have been a lot of fallout about it. I also said yesterday what I thought the Democrats sitting on their hands, and Nancy Pelosi's ripping up the speech, and her general reaction, her demeanor through most of the speech, a couple of smiles here and there, but mostly very sour look, rolling the eyes throughout the speech. What that really meant, somebody today confirmed that also in an article, a pundit, so I guess we can say great minds think alike. But I wanted to just share these reactions with you and I guess toot my own horn of the conclusion that I reached that was confirmed by somebody else, but also because I think it's an important conclusion, not just because I came to it. That was actually just a little joke. That's not the main point. So let's go right now to some articles and some comments. And I'll, as I usually do, throw in some of my reactions here and there as we go along. Here is the first headline. Nancy Pelosi shamed herself at Trump's State of the Union address. Goodwin. Goodwin would be Mike Goodwin. He's a pundit who writes for the New York Post. Here's a question for Speaker Nancy Pelosi. Have you heard of Albert Einstein's definition of insanity? The one where he says it's, quote, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results, unquote. To judge by your conduct, I'm guessing you haven't. Your mumbling and sneering smiles throughout President Trump's powerful address were bad enough, but your decision to tear into shreds your copy of his speech and drop it like a dead fish was shameful beyond measure. Coming immediately after he finished and while he was still on the podium, you had to know the television cameras would catch you. No doubt that was your goal, to display your disgust to the nation and the world. Viva la resistance, or viva la resistance, if you're French, I suppose that's the way to pronounce it. Message received, and here's back at you. You disgraced your office and all of Congress. That has been pretty much the reaction, except for, well, liberal Democrats, but even a lot of moderate Democrats. Oh, by the way, if you're hearing thunder, that's because it's thunder. It looks like it's going to rain again, as it seems to do every week, sometimes more than once a week here in Tennessee where I live now. Nobody told me about the rain. When it rains, it doesn't just, it's like the label or the slogan on the Morton salt container, when it rains it pours, because that's all it does. If it rains it pours. I've never had a drizzle out here in the entire year I've been here. But I digress. Getting back to the comments on Nancy Pelosi tearing up the speech. Well, you know, why don't we just take a second here, show a little video. She is tearing up the speech. This is what I'm talking about. Welcome back. The first comment, it's a tweet. Actually, it's a double tweet. It's one of these tweets where somebody tweets something and then a second tweeter retweets the first tweet and then comments on that retweeted tweet, in case you're not familiar with tweets. What that means is that when I read the tweet here, I'm going to start from the bottom and work my way up because the most recent tweet would be the one at the top. So this is a quote from Nancy Pelosi. The original tweeter is quoting Nancy Pelosi, explaining why she did what you just saw her do, why she tore up the president's speech. And by the way, I believe that was illegal what she did. Not that she's going to be punished for it, but it's a government document, what Trump handed her. It's supposed to go into the congressional record. She tore it up. On the other hand, you can get some Scotch tape, tape it together, so no harm, no foul. Kind of like this whole Ukraine business where the aid they're arguing about being withheld was eventually provided on time before the end of the fiscal year, which was the deadline to provide it. And never mind that, as the president's attorneys showed in the Senate trial, it often happens that aid does not get out the door on time. That was their phrase, does not get out the door before a due date. It just happens sometimes. So no harm, no foul. Same thing with Nancy Pelosi. But, oh, and one other thing, if you're following the House manager's logic for their abuse of power impeachment article, then maybe Trump could be impeached under their logic for his State of the Union address, because their contention is, their logic is that if a president does something, even if it's perfectly proper, perfectly legal, but it can help him get reelected, that makes it impeachable, that he was abusing his power, doing something to get himself reelected. And of course, in that speech, there were several portions of the speech that were designed to help with his reelection. So maybe Trump should be impeached. Now, getting to the actual comment, read the first part, the bottom part. From colleague Marisa Schultz, Pelosi on ripping up Trump's speech, quote, "I tore it up. I was trying to find one page with truth on it. I couldn't," unquote. Well, okay, that seems pretty smart, right? But look at the response. So, Speaker Pelosi doesn't believe that Kayla Mueller was a captive of ISIS and murdered by Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi. Hell of a strategy here. And then there was the fourth grader, that cute little girl who could not get into the school that she wanted to because all the vouchers had been taken. That, I guess that wasn't true either. And then the Tuskegee Airman, I guess he wasn't really 100 years old. I guess he didn't really serve honorably in all of these wars. I guess he really wasn't promoted to brigadier general, and on and on. That is how absurd her comment is. It just shows how far off the cliff they are going, the Democrats. So high and so fast, I guess Thelma and Louise would be jealous. Piers Morgan is not, well, he's British, so you wouldn't put him into any party, but I don't believe he's a conservative. I know he favors gun control, so that puts him out of the conservative camp right then and there. But here's his comment. The political equivalent of throwing one's toys out of one's pram, which is a stroller. In England, they call it a pram, we call it a stroller. The political equivalent of throwing one's toys out of one's pram or stroller. Every time I think Democrats can't possibly play into Trump's hands anymore, they do something like this to give him another huge boost. Madness. And last quote, referring to what I just mentioned, the Tuskegee Airmen. Speaker Pelosi just ripped up one of our last surviving Tuskegee Airmen. The survival of a child born at 21 weeks. The mourning families of Rocky Jones and Kayla Mueller. A service member's reunion with his family. That's her legacy. If you watch the State of the Union, these are all people that Trump not only mentioned, but they were physically there and they stood up and they were applauded. But symbolically, Nancy Pelosi, A, tore all that up, and B, said that all of that was a lie. Now, you would think that there were some Democrats who were chagrined, at least by what she did. But look at this tweet describing the Democrats, her fellow House Democrats' reaction to what she did. At a Democratic caucus meeting today, multiple sources inside the room told NBC News that Pelosi called Trump's address a, quote, disgrace, unquote, and accused him of turning the speech into a, quote, reality show, unquote. Fellow Democrats gave her a standing ovation for her remarks, and by extension, a standing ovation for what she did. According to this, nobody criticized her for what she did, which brings me now to my closing comment. I'm going to quote John Fund, who reached the same conclusion I did that I stated yesterday. So I'm just going to let John Fund talk. John Fund, he's another commentator, pundit. This is an article of his, an editorial op-ed on the Fox News website. John Fund, Pelosi's State of the Union tantrum was also an acknowledgment of defeat. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, Democrat, California, wasn't just mad at President Trump last night when she tore up a paper copy of his State of the Union message on national television. She was also probably mad at herself and her fellow Democrats as well for being outmaneuvered by the ostentatiously theatrical president. The man her party impeached just 2 months ago is now about to be acquitted, has a record high 49% approval rating, and could well win re-election and even endanger her House majority. After a Senate trial, the one that's going on right now, at the end point of that trial, as I'm recording this, they're about to vote to acquit the president. After a Senate trial during which President Trump's numbers only went up, Pelosi sat in the Speaker's chair last night realizing that Democrats had lost political momentum to Trump. She grimaced throughout the speech, shook her head, and refused to even applaud a fourth grader in the audience who was awarded a scholarship so she attends a better school. After she was captured ripping up Trump's speech on national TV, Pelosi explained her action as, quote, the courteous thing to do considering the alternatives, unquote. For political observers, it looked more like an exercise in frustration by a political leader who rejected a smarter alternative in resisting impeachment. Now she and her party have surrendered the upper hand to President Trump. That is what I said in yesterday's vlog. The real reason why Nancy Pelosi was scowling and grimacing, the real reason why these House Democrats just sat on their hands, silently scowling during points in the speech, record low minority unemployment, for instance, things that they should have at least applauded. Never mind stand up, give a standing ovation. The reason they didn't, because when they were watching Trump, they were watching the presidential election slip away from them. It was the realization dawning on them that no matter what they do going forward, Trump would be acquitted the next day and would be reelected, and more than that, that there is a very good chance that they could lose their House majority, that the Republicans could retake the House. And if they do, by the way, Kevin McCarthy was on television today, or speaking to a reporter in an article, I don't remember which, but he said that if the Republicans retake the House, that it was his intention, and I am 100% sure that the new Republican majority would go along with him to expunge the Trump impeachment from the official House records, and then officially the Trump impeachment would never have happened. I, for one, am hoping that that is exactly what happens. And I am also hoping that you'll give me a thumbs up if you like this video. Share it with anybody you think would also like the video. Got any comments? You can put them in the comment section below the video, as well as any questions you might have, suggestions for future topics. You could subscribe. I love getting new subscribers, so subscribe, subscribe, subscribe. And finally, come back and see me again. I look forward to seeing all of you again, and until I do see all of you again, bye.